Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is the Friday news dump. It's the end of the week and time for us to look at everything that's happening before the weekend so that you guys don't have to worry about it yourself. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we started, and we haven't had any caffeine. So let's review things that are happening, things that have happened this week, and get into those headlines. Today on Before Coffee, Montreal Blacksmith says he has a place in paradise as Notre Dame reopens its doors, and Korean party spokesperson who grappled with martial law soldier insists he's not special.
Yeah, that's right. And also in the news, there's a California earthquake yesterday as California has become seismically active lately, and it's worrying the hell out of me.
More than 4,000 Romanians participate in a pro-Europe rally, and Georgia's opposition leader arrested as Georgia authorities try to curb protest over ending EU talks.
And a European mission will try to simulate a solar eclipse, and the last Buffalo soldier has died at the age of 103.
Sinterklaas, poems in Zwarte Piet, how the Dutch celebrate winter holidays. I'm not going to call it Christmas.
And it's St. Nicholas Day, and it's National Bartender Day. So, well, you know what to do. Get Santa Claus drunk. It's December 6, 2024 on Before Coffee. Call it solstice.
Yep, it's the solstice. Soon, the sun will start coming up more, and then we can not be so depressed in the wintertime. And that will be great. No, as I grow older and become more and more of an adult, I really start appreciating the rotation of the sun and understanding when that happens, so I can get excited for when the sun will be up when I'm awake.
That's right. The days start getting longer in about 2 weeks, so it's still 2 weeks away.
But I'm already excited about it. Let's start with our first story here about coming out of Montreal. Now, we mentioned this, I think, yesterday. About France, but Notre Dame is finally reopening, and we've got a story from a blacksmith because they did import a lot of blacksmiths from all over to help rebuild the Notre Dame. And this blacksmith from, I think, Canada says he has a place in paradise. This is by Joe Borgiono on the Canadian Press. Coming out of Montreal, 5 years ago, Notre Dame Cathedral erupted in flames. I wouldn't say it was an eruption. I think it was just a gradual buildup of fire, and then people were like, oh shit, it's on fire. A column of smoke rose above the Paris skyline as the historic cathedral, which took 182 years to build between the 12th and 14th centuries, was reduced to a smoldering shell. Don't worry though, because now we have technology like cranes and stuff to rebuild things, so it's not going to take us 200 years to build. Yet against all odds, the Gothic masterpiece is reopening its doors. I don't think it's against all odds. This is very dramatic. I think it's not that crazy that they rebuilt a famous cathedral that probably has a lot of people coming to see it for tourism. They probably get a lot of money from it, so they're definitely going to rebuild the thing. It's a very famous architectural piece in Paris. Sorry?
Wait, the Catholic Church has money?
Yeah, I know.
No way.
It's crazy. I don't think it's against all odds, but the Gothic masterpiece is reopening its doors on Saturday, which I guess is tomorrow, which is the 7th of December, and 2 Canadian blacksmiths played a role in its restoration. Montreal blacksmith Matteo Paulette won't be able to make it to Paris to see the resurrected church before the summer, but he said he is grateful for a small part in the cathedral's history. I believe I have a little place in paradise now, he said in an interview yesterday on the 5th of December. After Notre Dame fell into ruin, Colette got a call from a fellow blacksmith working in Alsace region of France. He asked if he wanted to fly to Europe to get involved in the Notre Dame rebuild. Do you know a lot of blacksmiths go to the same school in Europe? At least I knew my neighbor was a blacksmith, and then I had a friend who was also a blacksmith, and they went to the same school, and it's not in the Netherlands, okay? It's in a total different place. And it's like yeah, everyone goes there. I think it's in the UK somewhere, a famous UK blacksmith school. Anyways, that's my fun fact about blacksmiths.
I want to be a smithy.
Yeah, well you can. I don't know if they might not accept you, but you can go to the UK and try famous blacksmith school.
Or did hearing protection?
Yeah. Over 4 months in the fall of 2022, Colette and a team of 7 young blacksmiths under his direction forged 3 different types of axe. 60 axes altogether. The axes were quickly distributed to carpenters who needed the tools to carve the roof's timber frame, doing their best to mimic the original construction. Yes, fun fact, blacksmiths not only created swords and armor, but they also created tools that you needed for other things. That's why they were one of the key people in like a village is the blacksmith. He builds everything so everyone can do many different jobs around the village.
Back when everybody had a horse and they needed horseshoes. That's why they were so important.
100%. Yeah, and they built the wheels too. Colette said experts are able to look at the stone, wood, and other materials and determine the tool that was originally used. In the case of the frame Colette was helping with, it was determined that 3 different kinds of axes had been used. Well, it was a 200-year construction. Every time an axe was finished, the axe was sent to the carpenter, he said. We never had a chance to look at more than 3 finished axes at the same time because we were 8 people forging many axes as possible every day. Colette, 49, had been working as a blacksmith for more than 30 years. In 1994, that was the year I was born, he moved to Southwest France to apprenticeship under master blacksmiths. So did my neighbor. My neighbor also went to France to apprenticeship under master blacksmiths. This must be like a whole small industry, right, where they all do the same thing. This is the thing you gotta do. You go to school in the UK, you learn an apprenticeship in France, and then you go back to wherever you came from and be a blacksmith there. Returning to Quebec.
Needs to be a reality show.
Yeah, I know, right? How to be a blacksmith. In 1998, he returned to Quebec, and he soon opened his own foundry with the help of his father. Over the years, he had visited Notre Dame several times, stopping to marvel at his incredible door hinges. Well, you know you're a blacksmith when you're like, wow! Look at those handmade door hinges. I could never do that. Every blacksmith in the world asked himself, how was it possible to do that? He said in an interview. Another Canadian blacksmith, Nicholas Patrick from Toronto, was also involved in the project. Though Colette said he never crossed paths with Patrick. Really? You didn't have like a eat at the inn with all your blacksmith friends or something? The day after the cathedral burned in April 2019, French President Emmanuel Macron decreed that Notre Dame would rise again in just 5 years. A deadline that at first was very daunting, and the chief architect behind the rebuild, Philippe Villeneuve. I apologize for my French. Macron's decree became the driving force behind the most prominent restoration in modern French history. The announcement sparked unprecedented global support, with donations quickly nearing 1 billion. And World War people are angry about that. I don't know if anybody remember the big drama. Like, some church burns down and it instantly raises money in seconds, but some person gets murdered and nobody cares. Why do people care more about a church from the 12th century than they do about their fellow human? I don't know, but there's churches for you. I will just lift my hat to them and say everything went right and on time, Colette said. This is incredible.
Institutions.
Yep.
It's an institution of civilization. That's why they care.
A month after the fire, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau visited Paris and offered Canadian steel and lumber to France to help with the restoration. Canada will stand on France and ensure we offer all the support, whether it's steel or wood or whatever help we can, Trudeau said. This is truly a piece, not just of French history, but of world history, and that needs to be preserved, and we will be there to be part of it. On yesterday, December 5th, federal government officials were not able to confirm whether Canada ultimately provided any material to contribute to the rebuild. Well, they just got so much material, they were like, I don't know, we got materials, I don't know who they came from. I don't know where this wood came from. The reopening kicks off with an invite-only ceremonies on tomorrow, the 7th of December, and the 8th of December on Sunday, with heads of state and government, including the Quebec Premier, François Legault, and descending onto the French capital. Security measures will be tight, with the cathedral's island location sealed off to tourists. I guess that's what they were talking about, whereas Trump is going to that as well. They were talking about that yesterday. Everyone's going to be there. Well, everyone that rules a country, I guess, and cares about churches and has to do some sort of diplomacy. It's a diplomatic meeting. That's really what it is. Right. Speaking of politics, let's go over to Korea. A little update on the Korean coup that never was. This is from Jisoo Kim and Daewon Kim on Reuters. Coming out of Seoul, a South Korean party spokesperson seen grappling with a rifle-wielding soldier in a video that went viral as a symbol of defiance against martial law insisted on yesterday, the 5th of December, that she was not especially brave. President Yoon Suk-yeol was forced to abandon his declaration of martial law this week after 190 lawmakers defied a contingent of soldiers in helmets and body armor and voted unanimously to reject it. Footage of the lawmakers' aides tussling with troops to prevent the soldiers entering the main hall has become a symbol of public rejection of the attempt to impose military rule. Images went viral showing An Gwe-ryong, 35, a former TV anchor who serves as a spokesperson for the opposition Democratic Party, grappling with a soldier and grabbing hold of his gun. One video was viewed more than 1.2 million times on YouTube as of Thursday evening. My only thought is that I just needed to stop them. I pushed them away, shook them off, and did everything I could, she told Reuters on Thursday. A lot of people were fighting against martial law troops, so I just thought I also had to stop them. As lawmakers were gathered on Tuesday, their aides blocked entrances with furniture, formed human chains, and sprayed troops with fire extinguishers just 2.5 hours after the president declared martial law. 190 lawmakers had made their way to Parliament and unanimously voted to block it. Let's go! Don't you feel the shame? An can be seen shouting at the soldier in the clip. After she grabbed his rifle, the soldier steps back. Asked if she knew it would gain that much attention, An said, "There were many people braver than me who stood up to martial law troops. There were people who even managed to stop armored vehicles outside, so I don't think my actions were particularly special." An said, "Yeah, I mean, if the majority of people are doing the same thing as you, you're not really special, are you? You're just doing what everyone else is doing. We were all fighting the conscripted soldiers who didn't want to be there, most likely." So, the commander of the martial law troops said yesterday he had no intention to wield firearms against the public. Yeah, I hope not, because then there would have been even more big problem in the news cycle. The country's vice defense minister said no live ammunition was even provided to the troops. They just were there to, threaten the South Korean leader. South Korean opposition lawmakers plan to vote this weekend to impeach the president. I think that the people have already psychologically impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol. Who could trust the president declaring martial law, almost like a child playing games, or entrust the nation to such leadership? An said. I agree. I don't even know why he's trying to do anything. He should resign. He's not going to because he's too prideful, I think, but he's not. No one's going to listen to anything he has to say. I mean, that's genuinely how you give power to somebody. He says, do this, and you say no. And then, oh, I guess I have no power now. No one's going to listen to me. No one cares what I have to say. That's how you lose power as a politician. Who's that guy? Yep. Who died made you king? Yeah, exactly. Nobody. He's not a king. But there you go. I'm not going to do a Korean accent because I don't even know how to do a Korean accent. So that's why I did a weird British one. Anyways, next up is your stories about earthquakes.
Oh yeah, we're getting some seismic activity, and I'm not just the only one concerned. Scientists are concerned. This is from, what newspaper? The San Francisco Chronicle. Hannah Hageman and Curtis Alexander. All right. A major earthquake that sent reverberations through Northern California could mark the beginning of an active period of quakes, scientists warn. There are going to be aftershocks. You don't have a magnitude 7 without them, seismologist Lucy Jones said. Security footage from the Comfort Inn in Suites, Redwood County in Fortuna, California, shows the impact of a 2024 offshore Cape Mendocino earthquake, which hit at 10:44 a.m. and was centered about 10 miles southwest of Scotia in Humboldt County. Preliminary data suggested the fault that triggered the powerful earthquake ruptured from west to east, according to Jones. The style and location of the faulting, Jones explained, means that there is a chance of an aftershock could occur in the San Andreas Fault. However, seismologists can't predict with certainty the location or strength of aftershocks. Imagine someday we'll be able to do this, right? But it might be too late. Of course, I'm only an hour away from the coast, and there was tsunami warnings for the Oregon coast, but the tsunamis never materialized. Probably because it was a west to east crack, right? And the surf goes, I don't know. Maybe, I have no idea. Anyway,
not a
Christine
geologist.
Gould. Right. Either way, there was no tsunami. Although people cleared the beaches, so at least we know the system works.
I mean, better safe
Christine
than sorry.
Gould,
Oh, I
That's
had to leave
right.
the
I'm not gonna
beach. At
sit
least
there.
I didn't drown to death,
Except for the people that wanted the thrill, the people that got on their surfboards. Everybody just got the hell out of there, right? Christine Gould, director of the U.S. Geological Survey Earthquake Science Center, explained that in general, aftershocks will be weaker in magnitude compared to the original quake, although they could have released a lot of stress and transferred it to another plate, which is even more, right, deadly. The general trends that are that aftershocks will decrease in intensity. So how large they are often and how often they happen. The risk of tremblers would continue for the next days and possibly weeks, according to experts. How the quake was triggered. Thursday's earthquake, now dubbed the 2024 offshore Cape Mendocino, California earthquake. Maybe they should give it an acronym, the OCMCE. The ACMCE. Erupted some 40 miles offshore from Petrolia in Humboldt County, California. It is believed to have occurred along with seismically active Mendocino Fault, which sits in an area where the tree tectonic plates converge, sometimes called the Mendocino Triple Junction. It is seismically most active part of California, Jones said. Thursday's quake was a result of two of these plates, the Pacific Plate and the Gorda Plate, sliding against each other, said Tim Clements, a geophysicist in USGS Earthquake Science Center. The North American Plate sits just north to south. Okay, that's an interesting sentence. This is the area which the San Andreas Fault meets the Cascadia subduction zone, Clement said. Because of that, we expect there to be a lot of earthquakes in this area. A live map published by the USGS shows dozens of aftershocks that occurred and continued to hit right around the epicenter. We'll look at this in a second. Click. I'm not going to try to put it up or anything. I just want to see how close the aftershocks are to me. I'm in Southern Oregon, so Northern California is right next to us. The map shows dozens of aftershocks that occurred and continued to hit right around the epicenter of Thursday's 7.0 magnitude quake, including two on land, a 2.5 magnitude quake close to Petrolia just before 1:20 p.m., and a 3.1 in the same area around 12:30. USGS officials said in a media briefing Thursday afternoon that the extent of damages in these communities was still being assessed. The area has experienced 4 magnitude 6.0 or greater quakes over the past decade, with the most recent before Thursday having been on December 20th, 22, which triggered rock slides and caused minor damage to homes in Humboldt County. The earthquake was the strongest in the area since 1992, when the 7.2 magnitude Cape Mendocino earthquake struck. 8 magnitude 7 or greater earthquakes have occurred in the region since 1922. The largest was a 7.4 trembler in 1922. Wow. A strike-slip movement in the Mendocino Fault occurred around 6 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean on Thursday and likely moved to the Pacific and Gorda Plates several meters. Likely moved the Pacific and Gorda Plates several meters, according to Stephen DeLong, a research geologist at the U.S. Geological Survey's Earthquake Science Center. This unloading created horizontal motion in the ocean as opposed to vertical, so that's this way. I don't know. I don't explain the waves. To me, maybe it doesn't. 2 plates sliding against each other in largely horizontal motion, that is less likely to lift up the water and create a tsunami. Tsunami warnings were issued and then canceled for large swaths of the San Francisco Bay coastline. The USGS is monitoring aftershocks that may occur in coming days. Stay safe and be ready for more shaking, said Robert DeGroot, a physical scientist at the USGS Earthquake Science Center. If you feel shaking or get an alert, drop cover and hold on. Hold on. Don't fall over. Actually, you just sit down. You're already on the ground. You can't fall. Right? That's what he says. Drop.
Like a toddler.
Get on the ground. And don't get away from anything that could fall on you.
Get in the doorway. That's usually what they say, right?
Or just go outside,
No, going outside
right?
is
Just go
actually more
outside.
dangerous, I hear.
Why?
With
What's going to fall on you
earthquakes.
outside?
I don't
What's
know,
going to fall
cars
on you
could crush
outside?
you.
Well, don't get on the road. Just go outside and
No,
sit on
you
the
could be
ground.
like
Nothing's going to
next to a
happen.
parked
Unless the
car
earth
and it can
opens
just
up.
roll away and then crush you. I'm just saying.
I suppose. Don't do that. I mean, use some common sense. Let me, let me go. Yeah, there's plenty of safe places. Most of them are, all the safe places are outside. Inside is not safe. I'm just saying. Inside's not safe. Standing in the doorway is great if that's the only thing you got available. You can't get outside, but yeah, get outside. Previous earthquakes occurring in Mendocino Triple Junction have set off aftershocks at strengths that have gotten close to the original earthquake's magnitude, but not higher, according to Jones. We have seen earthquakes like this in a location before, and they haven't set anything off on the San Andreas. The risk of such earthquake at San Andreas will also drop off relatively quickly, Jones added. Well, there's still going to be an earthquake there someday. There still is, sorry. We don't expect large earthquakes to occur at great distances from this event, DeLong said. The most common aftershock sequence would be a series of smaller earthquakes within several or perhaps tens of miles of the original quake. There's a lower probability of something farther away. There's your story from the earthquake, which I didn't feel and nobody I talked to felt, but
It happened.
it sucks when you're driving on the road and there's rocks tumbling on your car. That
Yeah,
sucks.
I don't want
Kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that happens in earthquakes that gets people hurt. But back to you. There's your story.
All right. Good to see that nobody, nothing terrible happened from that.
Not this time.
Not this time. Do I feel better after being sick yesterday? Yes, I do. I slept all day yesterday after being sick. I got sick during the show. I felt terrible. And then I went to sleep. And then I didn't wake up until 4 a.m. So, of course, now I'm tired because I had to go back to sleep to wake up for this. But I feel much better. And let's see if the Romanians in Romania feel much better now that they're having this pro-Europe rally. If you know anything about what's happening in Eastern Europe, Russia's trying to get their hands on them, and there are a lot of people who are trying to fight against that idea of being a Russian puppet. And Romania is one of those. This is on Euronews by Euronews. Euronews wrote this entire article, and nobody is the author of it. Thousands of Romanians gathered in a popular square in the capital of Bucharest to stage a pro-Europe rally. Come just a few days before the second round of the country's presidential election, as concerns over the political scene veering towards populism loom large. Populism is not a right or left issue; it's an everyone issue. If a bunch of people are like, "Yeah, leftism," that's still populism. Just making that clear. And also you need populism for votes. So I kind of really hate this idea, the way populism has become kind of like a bad word that bad people do, and populism has been the way politics has worked since the beginning of time. You need popularness to get elected. It's a majority contest. So, but anyways, more than 4,000 Romanians participated in a demonstration in University Square in downtown Bucharest. Protesters waved Romanian and European Union flags side by side, and were even heard chanting pro-EU slogans. The rally comes just a few days before the presidential runoff vote takes place in the country on the 8th of December, which I think is Monday. Far-right Calin Georgescu stuns Romania as he wins first round of the presidential race. First round of the presidential race saw independent far-right populist candidate Calin Georgescu win almost 23% of the vote after polling in the single digits in the first week leading up to it. Well, that's suspicious. His campaign, promoted entirely on social media platform TikTok, saw him suddenly rise in popularity. Analysts say his delivery and presence on the platform allowed him to connect with the younger demographics. And if we know anything about the election in the United States, a lot of those younger demographics are idiots. Yes, and they just vote for the memes. At least that's according to everyone else, right? Damn, Gen Z is voting for the memes, not for the future of the country. They just think it's hilarious.
Their politics from TikTok. Their politics from TikTok.
Which is, let's be honest here, not good.
No, AI generated TikTok. That's what I get there. Oh boy. I've learned something today. The earth is flat.
Georgiou promotes anti-EU and anti-NATO rhetoric because he loves licking the boots of Putin, claiming the country needs to employ policies of neutrality. Yeah, good luck with that neutrality when you get invaded by Russia and then just become another USSR 2.0. I'm sure everyone will love that time. The controversial figure dubbed the TikTok Messiah has also publicly expressed his admiration for Romanian fascists. Yeah, fascism! As well as Russian President Vladimir Putin, who already said he's a bootlicker. He has even vowed to cut Romania's military and political support to Ukraine, an EU ally. You know what? Yeah, just get rid of your military, because you'll have Russia's military to protect you, right? Because they're your best friend now. Romanians hoped the presidential election result were a fluke and did not signal the country's political landscape shifting to populism. The parliamentary election, held just 1 week after the presidential first round, also saw far-right parties make considerable gains. The Alliance for the Union of Romania's party, AUR, finished second, securing just over 18% of the votes, around 4% below the PSD's 22%. There's a lot of stake in Sunday's election, and Romanians are feeling it. Pro-EU rallies have been regularly taking place across the country since the first round on November 24th. I lived a part of my life in the political regime in which these were absolutely impossible. You couldn't think of these things, and I've had the feeling that all these things could be lost in half a year, and we can't lose this ever again. It's impossible. It's unacceptable. Saban Pavlu, a Romanian actor participating in the demonstration, said. Georgiou defeated reformist incumbent Prime Minister Marcel Cioloșu at the Social Democratic Party, PSD, who finished in third place and has since dropped out of the race. Really? Why did they drop out? Because they got third place. You know what? This is the problem with people on the left, or even the center right, or whatever. They're like, oh, I'm gonna lose? Why? I might as well just give up now. Okay, yeah, just let fascists take over because you might lose. Just give up before even the second round happens. He will now face reformist candidate Elena Lasconi of the Save Romania Union, USR, in what is expected to be a tightly contested election on Sunday. Maybe he dropped out and said, I don't want to steal any votes from somebody who could actually win, so I'm just going to drop out. Maybe that's why they did it. I don't know. But I have no idea actually how the Romanian politics work, if they do have a two-party system or if they have more of a, percentual seats government. Most of Europe has that kind of parliamentary system where, 20 seats or whatever of different parties all conglomerate to try to work together. But I think that's definitely a special Belgian and Dutch thing, the 20 parties. I think most people have like maybe 5 parties at max and that get votes. And the Belgium and Dutch are the special cases where it's like, yeah, 20 parties got enough votes to get seats. And now we have to make a coalition of like 15 parties to actually have a working government and get nothing done.
Yeah.
Because we have to argue against 15 different principles, and they all say, no, I don't want that, and you need to put this in there. And 3 months later, nothing's happened.
Big tent parties. That's the problem with big tent parties. You have extremes at both ends that want their way. That's why they're extremists. They wouldn't be extremists if they were compromisers, right? That's why they're at their extremes. And they try, let's invite them idiots in. Nah, stay away. You just got too many radical ideas that nobody's ever going to buy.
And that's definitely the problem with a two-party system, is you just have two spectrums fighting each other for the cake in the middle, and nobody's ever going to reach the cake because they're over on each side.
Well, there's no perfect system. There's no perfect system, obviously, but we haven't figured shit out other than, just utter chaos. That's what should be ruling. That's what the actual only law of the universe is entropy. So, order does not exist in the universe at all. There's not the natural order of the universe. There's no order. There is no order.
It's randomness.
That's something we invented. Right. Totally random.
We should just play D&D and rule our entire countries by rolling D20s. That's just as relatable as an actual working political system. Anyways,
everybody should just giving money away to other people, and they just give it to other people, and eventually all that money will just stay in that little circle of people instead of going to the banks. Anyway, back to you.
Anti-banks. That's
right.
From Romania, let's go to Georgia, which is doing a similar problem, except now it's getting even worse because the person who won the election, which is part of the far-right pro-Russian sphere, has decided to start arresting opposition party leaders because they're
Of course.
trying to curb protests. Whatever excuse you can give to arrest other politicians so that they're not there to argue
Right.
against you. This is Sofia.
Oh, that's going to be happening in the United States.
Yep,
With Donald Trump
Megrilza.
shooting protesters in cold blood.
Yeah.
I wonder what this country's going to be like.
This is from Sofia Megrilza on AP News, coming out of Tbilisi, Georgia. Georgian police yesterday, on the, what was it again? The 5th of December. Sorry, no, not yesterday. The 4th of December, on Wednesday, raided the offices of an opposition party and arrested its leader in an apparent attempt to squelch the wave of mass protest triggered by the governing party's decision to suspend negotiations on joining the European Union. During the past 6 nights, riot police used water cannons and tear gas to disperse the demonstrators who threw fireworks at police officers and built barricades on the Georgian capital's Central Boulevard. More than 300 protesters have been detained since yesterday's Thursday protest, which was the 5th of December, and over 100 people have been treated for injuries. On that Wednesday, the Coalition for Change opposition party said the police raided its offices and detained its leader, Nika Gavarnia, in a which was shared on several officers dragging Gavarnia into a car. Georgian media reported the police also raided the offices of several other opposition groups and non-government organizations. Prime Minister Irakli Kobatidze of the Georgian Dream Party, who is the current winner of the last election, said the raids targeted those who encouraged violence during protests in an attempt to topple his government. Okay, I wouldn't call this a repression. It's more of a preventative measure than repression, he said. Yes, whatever makes you feel good when you go to sleep at night, dude. Arresting opposition leaders is a preventative measure now. I'm gonna stop it. Because, that's who's protesting, It's similar to what happened in, recently watched a documentary about this, but there were riots, right, in the UK against immigration and stuff. And they started arresting people on Facebook who weren't even at the protest because they said stuff like, you need to go beat up those migrants, those illegal immigrants at the Holiday Inn. You need to go beat them up. And they were actually in the UK arresting the people who were spewing hatred on Facebook and saying you've committed a crime of inciting protest because you on Facebook said, go there and fuck people up. You caused it. And I think that's what's happening here, right?
And some guy whose kid was on his account got arrested. He's like, what?
Yeah.
Huh? What?
That wasn't me. But that's what's happening here, right? He's saying, well, since you're the opposition party and you're telling people to protest against me winning prime minister, you're part of the problem. You're causing these protests. The ruling Georgian Dream retained control of the parliament in a disputed October 26 election, which was widely seen as a referendum on Georgia's EU aspirations. The opposition and the pro-Western president have accused the governing party of rigging the vote with neighboring Russia's help and have boycotted parliament sessions. Mass opposition protests sparked by the vote gained new momentum after the governing party's decision, which we've talked about, which they decided to put the hold on EU accessions because they were being taken hostage. They're being blackmailed, right? We're not going to send the EU if they're going to blackmail us with it. But we're going to get rid of their, what do you call it? Their piece on the board. They can't blackmail us anymore. That's what the president was saying anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Or the prime minister, sorry. Okay. George President Salom Zurabishvili refused to recognize the official election results and contested them in the Constitutional Court, which rejected her appeal on Tuesday. It was, I believe, the 4th of December. Zurabishvili, who plays a large ceremonial role, has declared that she would stay on the job even after her 6-year term ends later this month to lead the opposition demand for new parliamentary election. He urged the country's Western partners respond to Wednesday's wave of police raids of opposition groups by putting a strong pressure on the ruling party that is driving the country over the cliff. Do not be late, he wrote on Twitter. The EU granted Georgia candidate status in December 2023 on condition that it met the bloc's recommendations, but it put its accession on hold and cut financial support in June after their foreign influence law was passed, which, as we've said many times before, is very similar to Russian laws. And the closer you act like Russia, the closer the EU does not trust you. The Georgian government announcement of the EU accession talk suspension came hours after the European Parliament adopted a resolution criticizing October's elections as neither free nor fair. On Monday, the EU reiterated its serious concerns about the continuous democratic backsliding of the country, and well, now we have more proof. Starting to arrest your opposition and saying they've caused, you're trying to stop protest, is just another form of dictatorship. If once you start arresting your opposition and putting them in prison and killing them off, similar to what happened in Russia, right, with can't remember his name right now, right? Famously, the opposition leader died in prison mysteriously. Nobody knows what killed him. He just died. Not really mysterious. Putin probably killed that guy before the election. So even though Putin already basically secures his winning by manipulating the polls, and I think even people reported they just sign a ballot without actually voting. They just, here's your ballot, now put it in the box. I didn't check anything. Oh no, you don't need to. Putin's gonna win, so you go.
Alexei Navalny.
Yeah.
That was the name you're trying to think of.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think so.
So it's just a Russian strategy. So the more you act like Russia, the more people are gonna be like, you're acting like Russia, and we don't trust you, and we think you're just going to join the EU to fuck us up from the inside. Similar to what Hungary is doing, right? Hungary is obviously very pro-Russia, and they are constantly saying, the EU doesn't work, we're not going to leave it. But the EU sucks. It's like, well, then leave! Get out of here. Go freaking suck off Putin, and maybe he'll give you money. Because, by the way, Georgia is the second highest taker of funds that go into EU. So Hungary is not. Poland's the top, but Hungary is the second most. They put negative. I think it was like negative 2% in to the EU. So Hungary, of course, has a great reason to stay in the EU, even though they have nothing to fit with it. But that's my story on Romania and Georgia, who are both trying to fight this idea of becoming the second USSR. And on to your story.
Ain't figured shit out yet. Okay, so on to the news with European satellites. This is from AP. Marcia Dunn. A pair of European satellites rocketed into orbit. Let me just hold on. I think I'm slowing down. I close some windows here. Right, let's. I don't have to have that one open either. Okay, now let's do it. Close that one. Right on. Oh, by the way, I sent you a video.
Okay.
This will require. Okay, so here we go again. We're gonna start this over. We're gonna try to create a solar eclipse, an artificial solar eclipse. Let's figure this out. Oh crap! Here we go again. Figure I'm gonna shit out one of these days. A pair of European satellites rocketed into orbit Thursday on a first mission to create artificial solar eclipses through fancy formation flying in space. Each fake eclipse should last 6 hours once operations begin next year. Excuse me. That's considerably longer than the few minutes of totality offered by natural eclipse here on Earth, allowing for prolonged study of the sun's corona, our outer atmosphere. The launch took place from India. We are very happy science team here in India, the European Space Agency mission scientist Joe Zender said in an email. Billed as a tech demo, the two satellites will separate in a month or so and fly 492 feet or 150 meters apart once reaching their destination high above the Earth, lining up with the sun so that one spacecraft casts a shadow on the other. This will require extreme precision with just 1 millimeter, equivalent to a fingernail's thickness, according to the European Space Agency. To maintain their position, the satellites will rely on GPS, star trackers, lasers, and radio links flying autonomously. Each cube-shaped spacecraft, that was hard to say, each cube-shaped spacecraft is less than 5 feet across. The shadow-casting satellite holds a disk to block the sun from the telescope and other satellites. The disk will mimic the moon in a natural total solar eclipse when the darkened satellite posing as Earth. This is a huge scientific relevance, in addition to testing high-precision formation flying, said European Space Agency's Technology and Engineering Director Dietmar Pilz. Scientists need need the glaring face of the sun completely blocked in order to scrutinize the wispy crown-like corona encircling it. Boy, that's almost poetry, huh? Getting an especially good look close to the solar rim on this mission. They're particularly interested to learn why the corona is hotter than the surface of the sun, and also want to better understand coronal mass ejections, eruptions of billions of tons of plasma with magnetic fields out into space. The resulting geometric storms can disrupt power and communications on Earth and in orbit. Such outbursts can also produce stunning auroras in unexpected places. With a lopsided orbit stretching from 370 miles to 37,000 miles away, the satellites will take nearly 20 hours to circle the world. 6 of those hours at the farther end of the certain orbits will be spent generating an eclipse, or gathering one. Other orbits will be strictly for formation flying experiments, according to the European Space Agency. The first eclipse results should be available in March, following checkout of both craft. Zender said eclipses will be created at least twice a week, with 6 hours of totality each time for corona observations. The frequency will depend on solar activity, he noted, and prove a boon for scientists who now must travel across the world for a mere 3 to 5 minutes of totality during the occasional eclipse. The $210 million mission, dubbed Proba 3, is aimed for at least 1,000 hours of on-demand totality during its 2-year operation. Once their job is done, both satellites will gradually drop lower until they burn up in the atmosphere, likely within 5 years. Liftoff was delayed by a day by last-minute issue with the backup propulsion system of the satellites, crucial for precision formation flying. The European Space Agency said engineers relied on a computer software fix. There's your story on the satellite. Now we're going to talk about history. Oh, by the way, I sent you a video.
Yeah, you already told me that at the beginning of your story.
Did I? I'm sorry. Lack
it's
of
okay.
sleep.
It's 4 a.m. Well, 5 a.m. now. So
making me punchy. This is from the TimesUnion.com. The last buffalo shoulder. This is I'm not sure what city this is. Let me see. The Times Union and what city? Let me get this accurate. Don't know. The Times Union. We'll figure it out when we read the story, I guess. H. Rose Schneider, the last buffalo soldier, the Reverend Robert W. Dixon Sr., dies at 103. Pastor Robert W. Let's see. Let's do the story instead of the caption. The Reverend Robert W. Dixon Sr., the last known living buffalo soldier and longtime activist and faith leader in Albany, and probably New York then, I'm guessing, died Friday, November 15th. He was 103. Dixon served as a corporal in World War II and was in the famed all-black Buffalo Soldier unit at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, where he taught horsemanship and horse cavalry techniques to cadets. Formed in 1866, the 9th and 10th Cavalry, as well as the 24th and 25th Infantry, were known as Buffalo Soldiers, coined by Native Americans during the United States westward expansion. The cavalry units existed until the Army became fully mechanized by the end of World War II. Of course, Buffalo Soldiers is kind of derogatory because they called them that because of their hair. Their hair reminded them of buffalo hair. And they called them Buffalo Soldiers. That's why they got that name. Faith was constant in Dixon's life. Growing up in New York City, he was active in youth ministries at his church, according to his obituary. In 1957, he began work as a pastor at Central Baptist Church in the Dutchess County hamlet of Salt Point, where he served for nearly 2 decades. During his time in the Hudson Valley, he was also politically active, running for mayor of Poughkeepsie and serving as vice president of the Poughkeepsie Middle School Board. In 1977, Dixon started as pastor of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Albany. His sermons were known for their rare succinctness and depth, his obituary said. Some clocked in at only 7.5 minutes long. His community service extended beyond the church. Dixon helped from the city's Community Police Relations Board and was the chairman of that board from 1984 to 1988. He led efforts to erect a memorial to Martin Luther King Jr. in Lincoln Park and marched in protests for racial and social justice, which was radical at one time. His adult children once learned in letters from his wife 38 years. Georgia Bryant Dixon, that had been arrested for protesting in South Africa's apartheid. His adult children once learned in letters from his wife of 38 years, Georgia Bryant Dixon, that he had been arrested for protesting South Africa's apartheid. Dixon would retire in 2013 as the longest tenured pastor in the church's history, but his community work didn't stop. During his coronavirus pandemic, he made phone calls to the sick and shut-ins, sometimes using humor to help. To know the Reverend Robert Walter Dixon Jr. Sr. Wow. To know the Reverend Robert Walter Dixon Sr. was to witness a man of God who lived with integrity, compassion, and humility. His obituary said he was a preacher, a teacher, a leader, and a servant whose impact will be felt for generations to come. He is survived by his wife, Lucy, Lady Georgia B. Dixon, as well as children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Of course, probably great-great-grandchildren. I'm old enough to have great-grandchildren. I know he's old enough to have like 3 greats before the grandchildren, right?
Yeah.
So there's your story. In the last Buffalo Soldier, long life, did a lot of good things. He will be missed. Back to you.
Rest in peace. Good to remember the people that we've long forgotten and really don't rely on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
A lot has changed since he was, in his prime. And it's crazy to think about, too, how much has changed, really, in such a short amount of time for some people. An entire lifetime, really.
Right, and someday I'll reach my prime.
Some things that have changed, for example, is Sinterklaas. It's a Dutch holiday that celebrates the winter time. I wouldn't say it's Christmas. It does celebrate Saint Nicholas, hence the Sinterklaas, but it's on December 5th, which was yesterday, so they've already celebrated it. But you can still celebrate today. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. We're going to talk about it because now they're no longer going to be selling my chocolate letters. They sell these chocolate letters that would, like, you're supposed to have your name, like A, B, C, And they're not going to sell them anymore after today. They just let them run out now. Because the Santa Claus gift. You get it for your child. You put it in their shoe. That's what they do. Well, we'll talk about it. I won't explain it. Let's see what who's read this article. Probably John Walfitz on Euronews. On the evening of December 5th, always December 5th, Dutch friends and families get together to celebrate their unique take on the festive season. While many Europeans will wait until the end of December for their celebrations, the Dutch have already got going. December 5th signifies Sinterklaas, even with the following day celebrated as the Feast of Sinterklaas for Dutch people in the Netherlands, Belgium, and around the world. As Dutch people get ready to celebrate Sinterklaas for another year, it's worth looking into traditions and how they've evolved over time. In particular, there's a long-standing discussion over the Netherlands' love-hate relationship with the controversial figure Zwarte Piet to contend with. Sinterklaas is Dutch for Saint Nicholas, the patron saint of children who is believed to have died on the 6th of December, 343. So it's a very old holiday. The Greek bishop of Myra, present-day Turkey, has become a world-famous figure for his kind deeds to the poor and the needy. You may have heard St. Nicholas for other character you inspired, Santa Claus. The Dutch have been celebrating the Feast of Sinterklaas for at least 700 years, since the 19th century. They've also routinely celebrated Sinterklaas' arrival in the Netherlands from Spain by a boat after an event in Zwolle in 1873 saw a local dressed as a saint give out sweets to children. Yes, that's why there's a lot of noise. They get on a boat, they get dressed up, and they go, "I'm here," and all the kids go, "Yeah, he's here, he's gonna give us gifts, I can't wait." Today, the arrival of Sinterklaas by boat is the ensuing parade is a massive televised event across the Dutch-speaking world that typically takes place on the first Saturday after the 11th of November. I was wondering what all that noise was. As a not child, I don't really celebrate Sinterklaas. It's definitely a child's holiday, right? So, similar to how as an adult, I don't celebrate Santa Claus either. Tonight, or I should say last night, Dutch families gather together to celebrate what will likely draw lots to decide who to give presents to. Essentially, this is the Santa Claus equivalent of Secret Santa. Presents drawn for anyone unfamiliar. The twist is, Dutch people don't just package up a lazily thought-out gift for the colleague they've been allotted to at their work Christmas party. For Santa Claus, they're more like to have a friend or family member and write out a whole poem for them. These poems change depending on the tradition of the family, but often have thinly veiled insults thrown in a sort of annual comedy roast of your loved ones. Wrapping up your disdain for another in the packaging of cultural tradition is very Dutch, by the way. That's not all. The gift they give alongside the insulting poem will always be elaborately hidden. Think mysterious tips taking you around the house only to lead you to a pair of socks. Or a seemingly huge gift that's actually far too many layers of tightly bound wrapping paper for a tiny trinket. Much like Santa Claus at Christmas, children hope for a gift to come overnight from Santa Claus. To do this, they often line up their shoes at the fireplace and pray for a sweet delight in the morning. If you want to eat like a Dutch person on Santa Claus, there are only two figures here, pepernoten and chocolate chocolade letters. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the giant chocolate letters. They're like this big, they're big as my face letters. And pepernoten is basically gingerbread, but like hard gingerbread kind of cookies, small little cookies. Pepernoten are dried ginger biscuits, blah blah. I already explained what they are. Usually you give someone the chocolate letter that corresponds with the first letter of their name, but thanks to people being naughty at stores, usually you only get S for Santa Claus. Because, people like to spell out naughty things with the chocolate letters, so they usually only have S's now these days.
Uh-huh.
So you can definitely spell something bad with S's, if any German historians out there. This might seem like fun and games so far, but there's long been a controversial element involved in Santa Claus celebrations. I think everyone around the world has heard of this. When the Saint arrives in November, he has historically been accompanied by his helper, Zwarte Piet, literally Black Pete. The origin of Zwarte Piet is disputed, with some claiming the diminutive black figure is a Moor, because he's coming from Spain, who comes from Spain, to others suggesting his coloring is due to soot from sweeping chimneys. Whatever the explanation, Zwarte Piet has been historically represented by adults and children in blackface makeup and an afro wig. Totally Moors. Unsurprisingly, this led to many Dutch people of color finding the tradition insulting and finding the celebration a traumatic experience growing up in the Netherlands. Yeah, because everyone would call them Zwarte Piet in school. You look like Zwarte Piet! Haha! I was born like this, but thanks for insulting me. In response, Dutch activist Jerry Afrayi started the Kick Out Zwarte Piet (KOZP) movement in 2014 after years of protesting the practice. The KOZP has held multiple demonstrations against Zwarte Piet. They've not gone without resistance from conservatives who want to hold the tradition sacrosanct. Afrayi has been arrested 3 times for demonstrating. The National Terrorism Threat Assessment in the Netherlands, DNT, listed his group as an extreme left anti-racist action group, and in 2017, as the decision was retracted in 2019. So they retracted that, but they're terrorists because they want us to get rid of one element of our celebration. Suggesting the tradition was hurtful to black people in the Netherlands has driven some Dutch people so mad they have gone to the extreme lengths to stop the KOZP protest. In 2017, multiple buses with KOZP protesters were blocked from reaching their destination in the Frisian region, leading to multiple convictions for the bus blockers and blocking Frisians becoming the word of the year in 2018. This year, KOZP has held multiple protests, but the campaign seems to be coming to a halt. The group cites 28 local councils who have agreed to hold inclusive Santa Claus parades. Afrayi has said that the intention was always to wrap up the movement a decade before its founding in 2025. While KOZP has certainly made the average Dutch person far more aware of the issue with Zwarte Piet since 2014, it's hard to ignore the movement will be retired amid the Netherlands' most right-wing government in decades after the Party for Freedom became the largest political party in 2023. Now, I do have to say that this kind of thing is similar to... Let's talk about this thing called kissing. I'm sure you guys know all about kissing. Now, back in, I believe it was the 80s or the 70s, Dutch people started kissing each other 3 times on the cheek. Before that, it was not a practice. Nobody ever did it before, okay? But because there's like 2 or 3 generations that grew up with when you go to somebody's house that you know, You greet them, you kiss them 3 times on the cheek. It became a cultural practice from the 70s and 80s to now, right? Of course, when COVID happened, everyone stopped doing that because let's not get sick and spread germs. But now it's completely stopped as a practice that easily, right? Because of COVID. That's an example of how this stuff is all made up, okay? And it's very easily you can just stop doing. You stop doing it for one generation and no child will care. The only people who care about zwarte piet are the adults who grew up with it, and they feel like you saying it's bad says that they're bad, right? You're telling, wait, I enjoyed zwarte piet. Does that mean I'm a racist? No, unless you actually profess your hate for black people, then you are indeed a racist. But people take it way too personally. And that's why they get very angry and start calling people terrorists, because they want to remove one single symbol from a celebration. It's the same reason why they got rid of the golden chariot, or the golden, not a chariot, what is it called? Horse carriage, the golden carriage of the king and queen. Because that thing is made out of stolen gold from the famously slave trading Dutch East India Trading Company. So they're like, yeah, we're not gonna parade this around anymore. It's not really it to be celebrating our stolen golden carriage, So I think people just need to get over themselves. It's not a personal attack on you. And get rid of zwarte piet. I agree. But I'm just an American living in the Netherlands. What do I have to say about it? You wanted to say something?
No.
Okay. But that's my story, so on to this day in history.
Such controversy. This day in history, back in the mists of time. We're going all the way back to the spin of the wheel. 1421. On this day, 1421, King Henry VI was born in Windsor, Berkshire. So if you wanted to buy him a cake, go out and, it's his birthday now, 1421. 1534, Sebastian de Belcazar, under the authority of Francisco Pizarro, occupied the Indian city of Quito in what is now Ecuador. Okay, on this day. Just on this day. Just next day was over. No, just kidding. 1865, Georgia became the 27th state to ratify the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. Way to go, Georgia. 1898, photographer Alfred Eisenstadt, whose images, many of them for Life magazine, was born in Dachau, West Prussia. He was established as one of the first and most important photojournalists. So he's born this day in 1898. In 1907, an explosion in a coal mine, get this, okay, an explosion in a coal mine in Monaga, West Virginia, killed more than 350 people, many of them young boys. Oh yeah, them young boys out there in the mines, they can get in them tiny spaces, right, with them tiny hands.
Yeah, they can get stuck in those holes.
Break loose that coal, and when the explosion happens, they all get buried alive. Ooh, what a way to go. When you're, 8 years old working in a mine.
Of course, a lot of miners were basically slaves. Their
they were literally miners.
And they sign off their own children to be miners when they're old enough. They
lived in mining towns where you bought your stuff from the company store, as immortalized in the song 16 Tons. Mm-hmm. You load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. 1912, a bust of Nefertiti was discovered during the excavations at Tel El Amarna, Egypt. The sculpture later went on display in Berlin Museum, and it became a source of controversy as an alleged plundered artifact. What do you mean alleged? Yeah, well, that thing got to Berlin all on its own. It got up and walked from Egypt to Berlin. Oh, look at that! There's an artifact at our door. Anyway, alleged. That's funny. An alleged and plundered artifact. Yeah, all of Egypt's treasures ended up in Germany. Didn't you know that? 1917, Finland declared itself independent from Russia following the Bolshevik Revolution. And of course, Putin don't recognize that shit at all. He wants Finland, I guarantee it. 1933, In what was considered a landmark ruling, a U.S. federal judge held that James Joyce's Ulysses was not obscene, thus allowing for greater freedoms in literary works. Thank you very much. Stop trying to ban books, you fascist pigs. 1969 on this day, which is the subject of our mic drop, the 60s, what journalists call the official end of the 60s, was the violence at the Altamont Rock Festival in Livermore, California. 55 years ago today, the 60s ended with violence. Climax during the Rolling Stones appearance when the concertgoer was fatally stabbed by the member of the Hells Angels motorcycle gang, which had been hired as security. But again, that was Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead telling the Rolling Stones, "Hey, I hired Hells Angels for security all the time. It's going to be great, dude." Well, it wasn't great. The Hells Angels were there to beat people up. So anyway, 1973, Gerald Ford was sworn in as Vice President of the United States, succeeding Spiro Agnew, a grifter who had resigned. So we got another grifter coming in as Vice President, so get ready. Get ready. This guy is definitely a grifter. 1992, the Babri Masjid, Mosque of Babur in Ayodhya was destroyed by Hindu fundamentalists, leading to Hindu-Muslim riots throughout India. Why would you do that? What a bunch of shitbags.
I mean, why did Europeans fight each other over Catholicism and Protestantism? Stupidity, that's why.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're all shitbags. We're just what's the saying? We're all in the gutter. Some of us are reaching for the stars, but the rest of us are just fighting over the gutter. 2006, NASA released images taken by the Mars Global Surveyor that indicated relatively recent presence of water on Mars, which excited a lot of people and doesn't excite me at all. Because Mars is not a place you want to live, ever. There's no reason to go there. There's no reason to even stop there. It's a waste of time, I'm telling you. Waste of time. And we can send Elon Musk there. I'm all for that. 1921, our featured event, 1921, Irish Free State was established. The British government and Irish leaders, Arthur Griffin and Michael Collins and others, signed the Anglo-Irish Treaty, established the Irish Free State as an independent member of the British Commonwealth in this day in 1921. And they don't even want to be part of the British Commonwealth any fucking more. So they're just happen to be close proximity. Well, let's see, our featured biography birthday today. We have to have a featured biography. William S. Hart, American actor. William S. Hart, silent movie guy, I'm pretty sure. Let me scroll down to his biography here. He was born December 6, 1864 in Newburgh, New York. Died June 23rd in 1946 in California at the age of 81. Yeah, silent film guy. Other birthdays today is Joseph Stalin's birthday. Did you buy him a cake? No, probably not. Born in 1878, old Joe Stalin. And 1900, born on this day, Agnes Moorehead, American actress. If you remember the movie Bewitched, Agnes Moorehead was Endora, Samantha's mom. She was always harassing her husband. 1920, Dave Brubeck, American musician, was born. Oh, and guess what? Britannica is going to remember Richard Speck, American psycho killer. Oh boy, we get to remember another murderer. Anyway, it's his birthday. He was born in 1941. No, I don't know why we were remembering serial killers' birthdays, but there you go. 1967 is the birthday of Judd Apatow, American writer, director, and producer, and former stand-up comic. Makes a lot of these, I guess you call them gross-out comedies, you know? He made a lot of those. Something About Mary, he made that movie. Movies like that. What day is it today? Well, let's find out, everybody. Let's find out all the fun days it is today. It is National Gazpacho Day. What's in gazpacho? I know it's a...
Whatever you want to put in it.
Is that what's in it? Okay. It's also St. Nicholas Day.
It's a cold soup, and you put stuff... I mean, the one I had, the last time I had gazpacho, was basically salsa. Cold salsa. You know, like the salsa mom makes, where the tomato juice is still in there? It was basically that. Just whatever you put in
thought it was
tomato salsa, but cold. You left it in the fridge and you drink it as a soup, and then you can add Tabasco to it. To add some more flavor. Whatever. Corn, whatever, cold things. Things that are nice to eat cold because it's a cold soup.
That's right. The original, well, yes, you covered it very well. The original Spanish recipe includes stale bread, water, vinegar, oil, salt. Other ingredients include olive oil, wine, vinegar. Just throw everything, whatever's left.
Oh, this is gonna go bad tomorrow. Put in the gazpacho. That's that's what kind of dish it is.
You gotta have tomatoes, though.
Well, it's because tomatoes didn't exist until the 1600s or whatever.
Gazpacho.
Yeah.
But of course, gazpacho is what that loon job Marjorie Taylor Greene called the Gestapo. She tried saying Gestapo and she said gazpacho. Oh no, the gazpacho's at the door. Oh crap. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's worse than the Spanish Inquisition. It's also National Microwave Oven Day, so do not microwave your gazpacho. You're supposed to eat it cold. And what we already covered, what you were covering anyway, it's St. Nicholas Day, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the Christmas holiday. It's one you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Celebrated in the lowlands, one could say.
All right. Yeah. And the picture here is a chocolate letter S.
Yep. I told you.
You were also talking about. Yep. It's National Bartender Day. So when you get drunk and having your gazpacho, thank your bartender. National Mitten Tree Day also is today. And those are all your days, unfortunately, for December 6th, 2024 and before gazpacho. I just want to say gazpacho the rest of the damn day. I don't want to eat it. I'm just going to say it.
Gazpacho. Yeah, no, you wouldn't like it. I think it's not a great thing to have in the winter time. It's not a winter. I don't know why it's today in the middle of the winter. Who wants to eat that in the winter? For UN International Days, which I lost my window, so I need to open it again. I forgot. I keep on forgetting to cover my international UN recognized days. Right, let's go. Is this in Spanish? And it's fine. Okay, let's go to December. What is today? December 6th. So we didn't cover, I think we didn't cover the 5th. There were 2 days yesterday. It was International Volunteer Day. So this is the day to celebrate people who help volunteer for all sorts of things, especially sustainable development goals and changing fixing the climate change and solving conflicts and social injustices. So that celebrate everyone who volunteers, because those people usually aren't getting paid. And a lot of them work for nonprofits, and if they do make any money, it's barely enough to live. But they still care about fighting for your rights in a lot of cases. It was also World Soil Day. So celebrate soil. You need that stuff to grow plants. So 95% of our food comes from soil. So and it's very important that all of it is doing a good job and has nutrients that we can continue growing food and feeding the growing population of the United States, of the world, with some good soil.
Soil must be replenished. It cannot be drained of its nutrients. When you're growing food, you have to rotate your crops.
Yeah, that's why people grow turnips in the winter, because that puts all the nutrients back in, for example. So if you would like to learn more, you can join the Global Soil Doctors program. That's right, you can become a soil doctor and help get that soil back to the capacity for farmers and sustainable growth. Alright, but this has been Allison here from the Netherlands and Raj from the West Coast of the United States, as we've celebrated another week of news here on the Friday News Dump. And you don't have to worry about anything, because we basically told you everything that's going on, so you don't have to worry about anything over the weekend. And we'll come back on Monday and tell you the rest. Hope you guys have a good weekend.
Of course, we know the world's ending.
Yeah.
In less than 1600 days, so
don't forget about that.
Enjoy it while you can.
Right there on I think it's here. Yeah, it's right here. And we will see you on Monday. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Stay warm out there. Stay safe. Regulate your temperature. And still wear sunscreen. you can still get a sunburn in the wintertime. And here is our mic drop moment.
You were there too, right?
Yeah. Altamont was a nightmare. It was the exact
David Crosby.
the antithesis of Woodstock.
Why?
Vibe. It's a totally different vibe. You know, different people.
Yeah.
Even before the beatings took place and the guy was killed, and I think Marty Balin got knocked out on stage by one of the Hells.
Marty
Even before those incidents,
Marty
could
made
you
a
tell it was
mistake.
different?
Marty got into an argument with the Hells Angel. That's like saying, "Oh, please, sir, would you knock me out?"
Yeah.
The same thing goes for the rest of it.
Marty Balin was a
only
singer
person
for
who stepped up
Jefferson
the Hells
Airplane.
Angels
Oh,
because I
really?
feel that if you don't want the tiger to eat your lunch,
He was
guest,
singing,
you don't
and he
invite
got an
the tiger to
argument.
lunch. They were asked to do security. That's like saying, "Would you please come over here and hit some people?"
The guy got beaten to death with a pool cue, didn't he?
Well, now he had a
Beaten
gun,
to death. Wow.
You know? I think
No,
he might have gotten
They got
knifed.
the
I'm not
facts
sure
wrong
how
in
it
this
happened.
interview. He was
Oh.
stabbed.
They were, at that time, extremely violent people.
He didn't have a
And they
gun
were
either,
asked
so that's not
to do
true.
what they thought was a violent job. I never
Wow,
did get a
violent.
joyous feeling there, ever. There was always tension in the air from the moment it started.
It was at a racetrack.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.